I am 91 years old. I have outlived my wife. I have outlived my oldest son. I have outlived every single friend I made before the age of 50. And 3 months ago, I sat in a beige office across from a doctor young enough to be my grandson, and he slid a piece of paper across the desk and told me I had somewhere between 4 and 8 months left to live. He said it gently. He had clearly said it before. He handed me a pamphlet about palliative care and asked if I had any questions. I looked at him and I said, "Just one." I said, "Is this the part where I'm supposed to be afraid?" He didn't know what to say to that. Neither did I, honestly, because here is the thing I need to tell you. The thing I came here to say before I run out of time to say it. I have been preparing to die for 20 years. I have thought about it, made peace with it, unmade that peace, and made it again. And when the moment finally arrived, when a doctor finally put a number on it and slid it across a desk, what I felt was nothing like what I expected, and that nothing has turned out to be the most important thing I have ever had to figure out. My name is Robert. I was an engineer for 34 years. I raised 3 children, buried one of them, and loved one woman for 49 years, until her heart stopped on a Wednesday morning while she was reading in a chair by the window. I have been broke and I have been comfortable. I have been strong and I have been sick. I have been certain about God, and I have lain awake at 3 a.m, certain about absolutely nothing. I am not a philosopher. I am not a therapist. I am just a 91-year-old man sitting in a chair by a window with somewhere between 1 and 5 months left, depending on which Tuesday you ask my doctor. And I have things to tell you that I don't think anyone else is going to. Here is what I always thought dying would feel like. I thought it would feel like standing at the edge of a cliff in the dark. I thought there would be a terror that settled into your bones and stayed there. I thought you would spend your final months replaying every mistake, every missed moment, every careless word you said to someone you loved. I thought the regret would be crushing. I thought the fear would be constant. I thought time would feel like it was running through your hands like sand, and you would lie awake watching it go. That is what every movie told me. That is what every book told me. That is what well-meaning people whisper to each other at funerals when they think the old ones aren't listening. He must be so frightened. He must be in such pain. He must be desperate for more time. And I want to tell you with everything I have left that almost none of that is true. Not for me. And I don't think I'm as unusual as you might assume. Let me tell you about my friend Walter. We met in 1979 at a hardware store of all places, arguing over the same box of 1/4-inch screws, and we were close friends for 31 years until he died at 84 of a heart attack, shoveling snow from his driveway. Walter was one of the finest men I have ever known. He could fix anything, build anything, and he told the worst jokes I have ever heard in my life, with the pride of a man who genuinely believed he was hilarious. But for the last decade of his life, Walter was consumed by the fear of dying. He talked about it more than he talked about anything else. He catastrophized every doctor's appointment. Every piece of news about someone his age passing sent him into a quiet spiral that could last for days. He spent 10 years waiting for death to arrive. 10 years of dread. 10 years of a shadow following him through every good morning, every good meal, every afternoon in the garage he loved so much. And when it finally came, it came fast. 70 seconds from the first chest pain to the ground. He never saw it coming. He never had time to be afraid of it. The thing he had spent 10 years fearing took him before he even knew it was there. I stood at his grave and I thought, Walter, you spent 10 years of your life terrified of something that lasted 70 seconds. I made myself a promise that day. I promised I would not do what Walter did. I promised I would not spend my remaining time in the waiting room of my own death. I just didn't know what the alternative would feel like until now. Here is what nobody tells you about being handed a timeline. It doesn't feel like a countdown. It feels like a spotlight. Suddenly everything in your life is lit up very clearly and very cleanly, and you can see maybe for the first time exactly what matters and exactly what never did. The things you wasted years worrying about are suddenly revealed for what they always were. Nothing, completely and utterly nothing. And the things you took for granted, the ordinary Tuesday morning things, the cup of black coffee while the light comes through the kitchen window things, those become so precious you can barely breathe when you think about them. That is what the timeline does. It doesn't steal your life, it finally shows it to you. I want to tell you something I am not proud of. For most of my adult life, I was a man who kept score. I kept score at work. I kept score with money. I kept score in arguments with my wife, cataloguing every point I had made, every time I had been right, every concession I felt I was owed. I was not cruel. I was not dishonest. But I was a man who was always silently measuring. Am I ahead? Am I behind? Am I winning or losing? Winning or losing what exactly? I couldn't have told you. I just knew the scoreboard was always running, and now it's gone. 3 months ago, a doctor handed me a pamphlet, and the scoreboard switched off completely. Just off. Like someone finally pulled the plug on a machine that had been running in the background of my life for 60 years. I wake up in the morning now, and there is no scoreboard. There is just the morning, the light through the curtains, the sound of my neighbor Tom, who comes by every single Tuesday and Saturday without fail, just to sit with me for an hour. Because he is, without question, one of the finest human beings I have ever had the privilege of knowing. Last Thursday I sat in my workshop for 2 hours doing absolutely nothing. No project, no plan. Just sitting in the space where I had built things for 40 years, running my hand along the edge of a workbench I made myself in 1987, and I felt something I don't think I had felt since I was a boy. I felt completely, absolutely, perfectly at peace. 3 months ago I was handed a death sentence, and it has given me the most peaceful weeks of my entire 91-year life. I don't entirely know what to do with that, but I think you need to hear it. I stopped arguing 2 months ago, not because I became passive or gave up, but because I looked at the things I had argued about over the years and I could not find a single one that had been worth the energy it cost me. Not one. I let things go now with a speed that would have seemed impossible to the Robert of 10 years ago. Someone says something unkind. I let it go. A plan falls apart. I let it go. Something is unfair or frustrating or not what I wanted. I let it go because I have 4 to 8 months and I am not spending 1 hour of them carrying something that doesn't deserve to be carried. I also stopped performing. You don't realize how much of daily life is performance until you no longer have the time or the energy for it. I say exactly what I think now. I tell people when I respect them and when I love them directly without making it casual, so it doesn't feel vulnerable. I told my son James last week that he is the man I always hoped he would become, and that the proudest moments of my life had nothing to do with anything I built or earned. They were moments watching him. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said, "Dad, why didn't you ever tell me that before?" I didn't have a good answer, only an honest one. I said, "Because I thought you already knew." He said, "I didn't." That conversation cost me nothing except the pride it took to start it, and it was 30 years overdue. I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually sit with it, not scroll past it. Sit with it. What are you carrying right now that you would put down immediately if someone told you that you had 4 months left? What argument are you nursing? What grudge are you feeding? What score are you keeping that nobody else even knows is being kept? What are you waiting to say to someone who needs to hear it? What are you postponing living until? Because here is what I know from this chair by this window with this timeline on my refrigerator. You're already in the final months of something, maybe not your life, but the life your children are still young in, the life your parents are still in, the life this version of you right now, this age, this moment is living. That version has a timeline too. You just don't have a doctor who's told you what it is yet. I am not going to stand here and tell you that dying is easy. I have hard days. I have mornings where I look out at the workshop and think about the projects I won't finish, and something in my chest pulls tight and doesn't let go for a while. I have moments of grief for the future I won't have. Grandchildren growing up without me there. Conversations I won't get to finish. The particular smell of wood shavings and machine oil that has meant home to me my entire adult life. Those things are real and they hurt, and I won't pretend otherwise. But the fear I expected, the terror, the crushing weight of the knowing it isn't there. And I truly believe that the fear most people carry about dying is not actually about dying, it's about not having lived. It's the fear of arriving at the end and realizing the life you wanted was always available to you, and you just kept waiting for the right moment to start it. That is the real fear. And the extraordinary mercy of having a number is that it removes that fear entirely, because you stop waiting, you stop deferring, you stop treating your actual life like a rehearsal for a better life that's coming. This is the life. Right now, this is it. And it is. Even at 91, even with 4 to 8 months, even with the pamphlet on the refrigerator, it is still somehow enough. I want to give you one thing to do today, not a list, not 7 habits, just one thing. Find the person in your life who you love most and who you show it to least, and close that gap today. Not tomorrow, not when things settle down, not when you have the right words, today. Because I promise you, from this chair with this timeline, the words don't have to be right, they just have to be said. Before the doctor slides a piece of paper across the desk, before you're sitting where I'm sitting, before the only honest answer to "Are you afraid of you?" is a question right back. If something in this landed with you, I'd ask you to share it, not for me. I'm past needing things for me, but because someone in your life needs to hear this today and doesn't know it yet. Leave a comment and tell me one thing you're going to stop waiting to do. I read every single one. I have the time. And subscribe if you want to hear the rest of what I have to say. I have 4 to 8 months, and I intend to use every single one of them